September 1940, Southern England. The sky is the color of old steel, low and heavy, pressing down on the airfield like a threat that never leaves. Flight Sergeant Thomas Hale, Royal Air Force, stands beside a Hurricane with chipped paint and patched bullet holes. His gloves smell of oil and cold metal. He is 24, already tired in ways training never prepared him for. Around him, ground crews move fast, quiet, purposeful. No speeches, no bravado, just work. At the edge of the field, 3 American officers watch from behind a rope barrier. Dark coats, clean boots, clipboards held tight against the wind. Official observers, advisors, neutral for now. Hale hears one of them mutter, "Not meant for British ears. They can't keep this up." He doesn't turn. He doesn't need to. He's heard it before. Across the channel, Germany is winning everywhere. France is gone. The Low Countries are gone. The Luftwaffe comes daily now, sometimes twice. Factories burn. Cities choke under rubble. And still, Britain flies. The siren cuts the air short. Sharp, final. Scramble. Hale runs. Engines scream awake. The Hurricane shakes like a living thing as he climbs in. He straps down, pulls the canopy closed. The radio crackles with clipped voices, calm, controlled, brittle at the edges. As he taxes forward, he catches sight of the Americans again. One of them, Colonel Robert Mallory. According to rumor, watches with narrowed eyes. Mallory fought in the last war. He knows numbers. He knows production charts. He knows how long men and machines are supposed to last. He doesn't know this country yet. The Hurricane lifts off into cloud and smoke. Almost immediately, the radio explodes with warnings. Bandits. High. Multiple formations. Hale climbs hard, lungs tight, fingers steady on the stick. Sunlight breaks through the clouds and with it, the enemy. Dozens of black crosses cutting across the sky in perfect order. Messerschmitts above. Bombers behind them, slow and confident. This is what the Americans see on their maps. Overwhelming force. Clean arrows pointing toward inevitable collapse. What Hale sees is different. He dives. The sky becomes chaos tracers, smoke, torn metal. A bomber's engine catches fire. Another peels away. Hale lines up a Messerschmitt, fires, feels the aircraft shudder as rounds hit home. No cheers. No victory. Just the next threat. Minutes stretch into something endless. Fuel drops. Ammo runs low. Pilots call out, voices suddenly younger, sharper with fear. "I'm hit. Can't shake him. Tell my..." The radio cuts to static. Hale breaks away, barely clears the clouds, and limps back toward the coast. Below him, England burns in thin, curling lines of smoke, but it still stands. On the ground, the American officers watch damaged Hurricanes stagger home. One crash short of the runway. Medics run. Colonel Mallory doesn't write anything on his clipboard. High above the channel, German bombers turn back this time. And far across Europe, in camps not. The airfield smells of burned fuel and wet grass. Hale climbs out of his Hurricane, legs shaking now that the noise is gone. His aircraft is stitched with fresh holes. One wing is scorched black. A mechanic stares at it, then at Hale, and silently gives a thumbs up. Alive matters more than condition. Stretchers pass by. One is empty. One is not. The Americans step closer this time. No rope between them and the wreckage. Colonel Mallory watches medics work on a pilot whose face is hidden under blood and oxygen tubing. Mallory's jaw tightens. Numbers don't show this part. Inside the operations hut, cigarette smoke hangs low. Maps cover the wall, pins, strings, grease pencil marks constantly erased and redrawn. Britain's war fits inside this room now. Hale pours tea with a trembling hand. It spills. No one notices. A flight lieutenant reads losses. Too many. Always too many. Then he reads German losses. Fewer than hoped. Enough to matter. Mallory stands in the corner, quiet, listening. He expected panic. He expected collapse. Instead, he hears planning, routes, altitudes, repair schedules. Who can fly again tomorrow? Tomorrow? That word bothers him. That night, London burns. Hale is on leave but doesn't go home. He stands on a hill outside the city with other pilots, watching fires crawl across the dark. Bombs fall like slow thunder. Somewhere below, families crowd into stations and basements. A young American captain beside Mallory whispers, "Sir, how are they still doing this?" Mallory doesn't answer. 3 days later, Hale is ordered north to a temporary holding camp near the coast. Not a rest camp, a processing site. Prisoners. German aircrew, pulled from wrecked planes and cold water. Most are boys. Some are not. Hale expects hatred, spitting, silence. Instead, he sees women. They wear Luftwaffe auxiliary uniforms, wrinkled, stained, unmistakable. Radio operators, mechanics, signals clerks evacuated from the continent after crash, and forced landings, captured during raids gone wrong. One of them meets Holly's eyes through the wire. Her face is pale, exhausted, confused, not afraid yet. An interpreter explains they were told Britain would surrender any day now, that England was starving, broken, that civilians begged for peace. The woman shakes her head slowly, looking past Hale, toward the sound of distant aircraft engines lifting off again. This is not what we were told, she says. Hale has no reply. Mallory arrives that afternoon. He walks the camp, boots crunching gravel, studying prisoners who were never meant to exist. German women captured on British soil alive, fed, guarded, documented. One prisoner asks him, in careful English, "When will you surrender?" Mallory pauses. Behind him, RAF fighters roar overhead, climbing fast, racing toward another raid. Mallory looks up at the sky, then back at the woman. "We're not planning to," he says. That night, Hale lies awake in his bunk, listening to engines and distant guns. Britain is bleeding. October 1940 comes with rain and cold that seeps through wool and bone. Hale flies again within 48 hours. The hurricane is patched, repainted in places where metal shows through like scar tissue. No one asks if he's ready. Readiness is assumed. The raids change, higher, faster, more desperate. German pilots push harder now, staying longer over England. They are hunting airfields instead of cities. They are trying to break the spine, not the skin. Hale understands the tactic the moment bombs tear into the runway. Earth jumps, concrete splits. One hangar collapses inward like a folded card. The control tower goes dark. For a long second, no one moves. Then the order comes calm, unreal. Use the auxiliary strip. Keep them flying. They do. Hurricanes lift off from grass soaked with rain and blood. Hale barely clears the trees. A Messerschmitt flashes past, so close he sees the pilot's goggles. They are not winning anymore. They are surviving. That afternoon, Mallory stands with RAF command staff in a half-destroyed building, helmet on, listening to men who have slept for hours in 3 days. He expects defeat talk. He hears none. Instead, they talk about rotation schedules, about radar coverage still holding, about German pilots who don't come back after long chases over England. They're staying too long, one British officer says quietly. They have to fight us and then fly home. Mallory writes that down. At the POW camp, the German women listen to the bombers returning late, engines uneven, fewer than before. Some planes never return at all. Guards don't celebrate. They don't need to. One prisoner, a former signals clerk, asks a British sergeant, "Why do your pilots keep flying when you are losing so much?" The sergeant thinks for a moment. "Because if they stop," he says, "there's nothing else." Hale visits the camp briefly. Escort duty. The same woman from before recognizes him. She studies his worn uniform, the oil stains that never wash out. "You should be finished," she says, not cruelly, genuinely confused. Hale looks past her, toward the coastline, where gray waves beat against gray land. "We know," he replies. Another raid comes at dawn. This one is different. The Germans are late, disorganized. Fighters arrive without proper cover. Bombers break formation under pressure. Hale dives into the chaos. He sees fear now, real fear in the enemy's movements. He downs one aircraft. Then another pilot calls out over the radio, voice shaking. They're turning back already. The sky clears faster than it should. When Hale lands, the field is wrecked but alive. Planes land one by one. Fewer losses than expected. Mallory stands near the edge of the strip, rain soaking his coat, watching British pilots climb out. Exhausted, filthy, grinning without realizing it. He finally says it out loud, to no one in particular. They're not breaking. That night, Mallory sends a report across the Atlantic. It is cautious. November 1940. The sky grows darker earlier now, as if the season itself is closing in. Hawley's squadron is rotated south, closer to London. The city is a target again. Night raids. Relentless, methodical, cruel. The Germans come after dark, when fighters are blind and fear travels faster than aircraft. Hale isn't flying much at night. He stands watch instead, listening, waiting. The sound of bombers drifts in like distant surf. Then the flak starts, black bursts blooming uselessly in the clouds. London burns in pieces. From a rooftop near the Thames, Hale watches warehouses collapse and churches burn. Fire crews move through smoke like ghosts. Civilians don't run anymore. They endure. A woman hands tea to a fireman as bombs fall to streets away. Hale has no words for it. Mallory toured the city the next morning. The damage is worse than reports. Whole blocks are gone. Windows shattered miles away. And yet shops open. Buses run. Men go to work stepping over rubble. This city should be panicking, one American officer says quietly. Mallory shakes his head. It already did, he replies. Now it's decided not to. At the POW camp, German prisoners are allowed brief work details clearing debris and loading supplies. The women move through London's ruins under guard, staring at life continuing in the open. One of them whispers, "Why are there children outside?" A British guard answers without looking at her, "Because this is their home." Hale escorts the detail. He watches the prisoners watch the city. The realization on their faces is slow and unsettling. This isn't propaganda. This isn't staged. That night, a massive raid hits the docks. Hale scrambles in darkness, guided by radio vectors and instinct. Searchlights stab the clouds. Bombers glow briefly, then vanish. He spots one aircraft lit from below, huge, vulnerable. He fires. The bomber shudders, loses altitude, then explodes in a violent bloom of orange. The blast wave rocks Hale's Hurricane. He nearly loses control. Over the radio, no cheers, just breathing. When he lands, news spreads fast. German losses are rising. British losses are rising too, but not fast enough. Mallory reads another report. He compares it to his earlier estimates. They don't match. They are not even close. At the camp, a German woman approaches the wire as Hale passes. Her voice is quieter now. "They told us England was finished," she says, "that people would beg us to stop." She gestures toward the distant city, still smoking, still alive. "They did not beg," she adds. Hale meets her eyes. "No," he says, "they didn't." The woman looks down. For the first time, fear reaches her face, not of guards or captivity, but of being lied to. Mallory boards a plane for Washington days later. His final briefing before departure is blunt. Britain will not collapse, he tells his superiors. Not from the air. Not like this. Across the Atlantic, the report lands on desks that once assumed Britain was already lost. And in Germany. December 1940 arrives with frost and exhaustion. Hale's breath fogs the cockpit canopy before the engine even turns over. Fuel is rationed. Sleep is rationed. Courage is not, because there is no system for measuring how much is left. The raids slow, then surge again without warning. The Germans switch targets constantly, now factories one night, rail yards the next, then back to cities. It feels less like strategy and more like frustration. Hale feels it in the air. During one interception over Kent, he chases a Messerschmitt farther east than orders allow. The German pilot keeps running, hugging cloud cover, burning fuel to fast. Hale almost breaks off. Almost. The Messerschmitt sputters first. The pilot bails out, parachute snapping open against the gray sky. Hale circles once, then turns back toward home, fuel needle scraping the red. Later, Hale sees the pilot at the POW camp, a man in his 30s. Not a boy, a veteran. His uniform is soaked from landing in a field, boots caked in English mud. The man looks at Hale and says quietly, in accented English, "We were told you would stop flying." Hale doesn't answer. He doesn't need to. That same week, Mallory's influence begins to show. American supplies, small but meaningful, arrive quietly. Spare parts, fuel additives, technical notes shared between air forces. Nothing public, nothing official. But it matters. British aircraft availability ticks upward instead of down. German losses do the opposite. In Berlin, pressure builds. Gring demands results. Luftwaffe commanders demand rest. Neither gets what they want. At the camp, German women listen to new rumors from recent arrivals. Britain should have sued for peace by now. Instead, RAF fighters are appearing faster than before. One woman, formerly a clerk in occupied France, sits on her bunk and laughs once, sharply, without humor. "They are not supposed to be improving," she says. London is hit again on Christmas Eve. Fires glow against falling snow. Hale flies twice that night. His guns jam on the second sortie. He stays anyway, bluffing attacks, forcing bombers to scatter. On the ground, carolers sing in a church with no roof. When Hale lands near dawn, hands numb, someone hands him a mug of tea spiked with something stronger. No one smiles, but no one breaks. Mallory sends another cable west, shorter this time. British resistance increasing. Enemy air strategy failing. Across the Atlantic, senior officers read it twice. At the POW camp, Christmas dinner is served: thin stew, bread, apples. The guards eat the same meal. No celebration, no punishment. One German woman looks at the food, then at Hale. "You do this for us, even now." Hale shrugs. It's Christmas. She looks away, shaken not by kindness, but by the implication that this war is not going the way she was promised. By New Year's Eve, the Luftwaffe no longer owns the night sky. Losses are too high. Crews are too tired. Britain still stands. Hale listens to distant bells ring. January 1941. The cold settles in like a second enemy. Halley's squadron is thinner now. Empty bunks. Familiar names spoken in the past tense. New pilots arrive, younger, quieter, eyes wide as they study the sky. Hale notices how they watch him not for confidence, but for permission to be afraid. He gives them neither. The Luftwaffe returns in smaller groups. Fewer bombers, more fighters. Hit-and-run raids meant to test defenses, to provoke mistakes. They don't linger anymore. They can't. During one scramble over the channel, Hale flies escort for damaged aircraft returning home. A German fighter dives through the formation, guns flashing. Hale reacts without thinking. He turns hard, pushes the engine past limits. The Messerschmitt overshoots. Hale fires. Smoke pours from the German plane, but it doesn't crash. It turns east, fleeing low over the water. Hale lets it go. He knows what that means now. At the POW camp, interrogations grow quieter, shorter. There is less bravado. German prisoners speak carefully. Some ask for news. Others don't ask at all. A female auxiliary older than most sits across from an RAF intelligence officer. Her hands are steady, but her voice is not. Our letters stopped coming, she says. We were told it was temporary. She looks at Hale, standing by the door. Is Germany losing? Hale hesitates. He chooses honesty, measured and incomplete. I don't think anyone's winning, he says. Not yet. It's worse than a lie. Mallory returns briefly, this time without the look of a detached observer. He wears fatigue now, not a visitor's coat. He watches training flights, repair crews, radar stations still humming despite damage. One British officer gestures toward the equipment. They tried to smash this first, he says. Didn't work. Mallory nods slowly. Because you didn't stop fixing it. That evening, Hale and Mallory speak for the first time. It's brief, awkward. You fly tomorrow? Mallory asks. Yes, sir. Mallory studies him. You know, back home, some men still think this is already decided. Hale looks toward the darkening sky. Then they're not looking at the right place. The raids thin further by mid-month. Bombers appear, drop quickly, retreat. Fighters break off early. Britain is still damaged, still bleeding, but the pressure is easing. In Germany, plans change. The focus shifts east. The POW women sense it before it's announced. New arrivals speak of units being transferred, of aircraft redeployed, of England no longer being the main effort. One woman grips the wire fence and stares toward the sea. We were supposed to watch you fall, she murmurs. Now we are the ones waiting. Hale flies patrol at sunset. The channel is calm, deceptively peaceful. No contacts, no contrails. For the first time in months, he lands without firing a shot. It should feel like relief. Instead, it feels like the pause before something much larger. Britain has survived the test. February 1941 brings quieter skies and louder questions. Hale notices it first in the mornings. Fewer scramble calls, longer gaps between sirens. The engines still warm up, pilots still suit up, but something is missing. The constant urgency. The sense that today might be the last day Britain can hold. Now, the danger feels distant, not gone, just waiting. Hale flies coastal patrols, scanning empty air where death once came in waves. Below him, convoys crawl through gray water, guarded, intact. This is new. Months ago, they would have burned. At the POW camp, routine settles in. Prisoners wash, work, wait. The German women no longer ask when Britain will surrender. Instead, they ask about America. When will your country join? One of them asks Hale during escort duty. Hale doesn't answer right away. He isn't supposed to speculate. But the truth presses in from every direction. Sooner than you think, he says finally. She nods, not surprised, almost relieved. Mallory sends his final report before departing again. It is blunt, stripped of diplomatic caution. British morale unbroken. Air defense effective. Enemy failing to achieve objectives. Any assumption of British collapse is incorrect. He knows how that will land. In Washington, some officers bristle. Others go quiet. A few begin to revise plans that once assumed Britain would not be there to help. Back in England, Halley's squadron receives new aircraft. Faster, better armed. Proof that someone, somewhere, believes Britain is worth investing in. The German prisoners notice the change immediately. New planes overhead. Confident patrols. Fewer bomb craters left unrepaired. One woman formerly proud, sharp-tongued, sits alone now, writing a letter she knows may never be sent. They told us England was finished, she says to no one. They were so certain. The Luftwaffe makes one last serious effort late in the month. A daylight raid. Heavy bombers, tight formation, old habits, one final push. Hale is in the air within minutes. This fight feels different, coordinated, controlled. British fighters arrive in waves, not trickles. German escorts struggle to keep up. Bombers jettison loads early, formations breaking under pressure. Hale lines up a bomber but doesn't fire. It's already doomed, engine smoking, fighters swarming it like hornets. He breaks off, watching it fall. When he lands, the airfield is still standing. Damaged but standing. The raid failed. That night, the camp is restless. New prisoners arrive exhausted, shaken, angry. They speak of orders changing mid-flight, of confusion, of being told England would be easy. No one believes that anymore. Hale walks the perimeter at dusk. The wind carries distant engine noise, but it fades east, not west. For the first time since summer, the enemy retreats without being forced. Britain has not just survived. It has changed the enemy's mind. And that realization, slow, bitter, undeniable, is spreading far beyond this island. Across oceans. March 1941. The war exhales, but it does not relax. Hale senses it in the briefings. Fewer alarms, more long-range forecasts. The enemy is no longer battering the door. He is circling, looking elsewhere. Recon flights confirm it. German aircraft appear higher, farther out, probing rather than striking. The channel feels wider now. At the POW camp, new prisoners bring news that spreads in low voices. Units moving east. Airfields in France thinning. Mechanics reassigned. The name comes up again and again. Russia. One of the German women hears it and closes her eyes. So that is it, she says softly. We are no longer the main effort. Hale overhears but says nothing. He flies escort for coastal convoys, watching ships pass safely beneath him. Steel hulls cutting through water, carrying food, fuel, hope. Months ago, these ships would have been death traps. Now, they move. Mallory is gone, but his impact remains. American advisors still circulate. Lend-lease equipment begins to arrive in meaningful numbers, crates stamped with markings that promise more than supplies. They promise commitment. A British intelligence officer tells Hale quietly, "They wouldn't send this if they thought we were finished." Hale nods. He understands the weight of that. The POW women are assigned new duties: clerical work, translation, camp maintenance. They notice how they are treated. Firm, controlled, human. One of them finally asks Hale the question she's been avoiding. "Did you ever think you would lose?" she asks. Hale thinks of burning runways, of empty bunks, of voices cut off mid-sentence over the radio. "Yes," he says. "Every day." She studies him. "Then why didn't you stop?" Hale looks out toward the sky, pale and quiet. "Because stopping wouldn't have saved us." Late in the month, Hale intercepts a lone German reconnaissance plane. It turns away the moment it sees him. No fight, no challenge. Hale lets it go. When he lands, the operations room is calm. Too calm. The officers know what this means. The Battle of Britain is over. It ends not with celebration, but with acceptance. Germany failed. At the camp, the news is posted. No speeches, no ceremony, just confirmation of what everyone already knows. Some prisoners cry. Others stare at the ground. The women say little. The truth has been sitting with them for months now. That night, Hale walks through London. Lights glow behind blackout curtains. Music drifts from a basement. Life continues, scarred but alive. He stops on a bridge and looks at the water below. For the first time since the war began, he allows himself to believe something dangerous, that Britain will still be here tomorrow. Far away, decisions are being made, decisions shaped by this survival. America is watching, and the war is about to grow larger than anyone imagined. April 1941. Spring reaches England cautiously, like a visitor and sure of welcome. Hale notices green returning to the fields around the airbase. Bomb craters soften at the edges. Grass grows where fire once ruled. The war has not ended, but it has shifted its weight elsewhere. Briefings now include maps far beyond Britain, the Balkans, North Africa, the vast, ominous stretch of Eastern Europe. Germany is moving, fast, confident again, but not here. Hale flies fewer combat sorties, more training flights, formation drills with new pilots who arrived too late to know how close Britain came. He watches them joke before takeoff, careless in a way that almost hurts to see. They do not hear the ghosts on the radio. At the POW camp, transfers begin. Male aircrew first, then some of the women. They are being sent deeper inland, away from the coast. Germany no longer fears invasion here, but neither does it want witnesses. One woman remains behind temporarily. The first Hale spoke 2 months ago. She stands by the wire as trucks idle nearby. "They are sending us away," she says. "East, maybe?" Hale nods. He knows what that means now. "You were right," she adds quietly. "We were lied to." Hale doesn't correct her. Truth, at this point, is heavy enough. Across the Atlantic, American newspapers run careful headlines. Britain still fighting. Britain holding. Britain defiant. The tone has changed. So have the conversations in military offices. Mallory reads one such article in Washington. He recognizes the photographs. Wrecked streets still functioning. Pilots climbing into cockpits with calm faces. He remembers Hale. American war planners adjust timelines. Supply chains expand. Training programs accelerate. Britain is no longer a doomed to lie. It is a platform. Back in England, Hale receives a letter months late from his sister. She writes about rationing, about nights in shelters, about fear that never quite goes away. But she also writes this: "They thought we'd give up. We didn't." Hale folds the letter carefully and puts it back in his pocket before climbing into his aircraft. One last German raid comes without warning, small, sharp, symbolic. Bombs fall near a factory already half destroyed. RAF response is immediate, overwhelming. Hale doesn't even see the enemy. When he lands, someone says it out loud for the first time, without superstition or caution. They're done here. At the camp, the remaining prisoners are loaded onto trucks. Guards check lists. Engines start. Dust rises. The woman looks back once at the island she was told would collapse. It didn't. Hale watches the convoy disappear down the road. He feels no triumph, only a strange, quiet certainty. Britain's survival has changed the shape of the war. The enemy is turning east, and soon, very soon, America will no longer be watching from a distance. The sky over England is calm as Hale walks back toward the hangars, but the world beyond it is about to explode. June 1941. The news reaches England in fragments, radio bulletins, whispered briefings, maps unrolled on tables late at night. Germany has turned east. Hale hears it standing beside his aircraft, engine ticking as it cools. Russia invaded. A front so vast it swallows attention, men, machines. The pressure that once crushed Britain has been redirected into something larger and more dangerous. The Battle of Britain is no longer a question. It is a fact. Hale flies that morning under clear skies. No enemy contacts, just cloud shadows sliding across fields that should have been graves. He realizes, slowly, that he is flying because Britain one time and time changed everything. At the airbase, American personnel move more openly now. Not observers, partners. Planning rooms hum with new urgency. Charts stretch across oceans. Britain is no longer the last line. It is the first. Hale escorts a visiting American unit inspecting aircraft. Young men, curious, serious. One of them looks at the patched Hurricane and asks, "This really held them?" Hale answers simply, "It was enough." In Washington, Mallory listens to confirmation reports. Germany fully committed in the East, Britain stable, American industry accelerating. The equation has shifted. The assumption that Britain would fall, the belief held by American commanders, German planners, even some Britons themselves, has collapsed instead, not with one battle, but with endurance. At the POW camp, the last German women are gone. The wire stands empty. Guards remove signs. The place feels strangely hollow, like a stage after the play ends. Hale walks the perimeter once more. He remembers the questions, the disbelief, the moment fear replaced certainty in their eyes. They were told Britain would lose. They were wrong. London hums that night, quietly, carefully, still scarred, still rationed, still afraid of what comes next, but alive. Hale stands on a bridge again, watching lights ripple across the water. He thinks of friends buried in fields and seas, of pilots who never saw this calm, of how close it all came to ending here. Britain did not win the war in the air, but it refused to lose it. That refusal echoes outward into factories, into fleets, into armies not yet landed on foreign shores. Soon, American soldiers will cross oceans not to save Britain but to fight beside it. Hale turns toward the sound of aircraft engines warming in the distance. New planes, new crews, new chapters. The war is far from over. But one truth is now uncheckable. Britain stood alone and did not fall. And because of that, the world still has a chance.